you're going to church and you see a white man on the way, you better go back home because you've seen God.
The biggest thing that set us Black Americans against everybody else is that we see skin bleaching as the ultimate sin. That's like the worst thing you could do.
Men here love fair skin. Africans love light skin.
But I really do think Michael Jackson getting his skin bleached might have helped out his career.
Why would I want a white child to play me? I'm a Black American. I'm proud to be a Black American. I am proud of my race. I am proud of who I am.
Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ai. Thank you so much for clicking on this video. Always lovely to have you here. So, skin bleaching and skin whitening is an issue that might not be as prominent in the African American community, but it is a big issue in the African community, specifically West Africa, specifically Ghana, Nigeria, Senegal, and Gambia, which are going to be the countries that I'm going to be focusing on in this video because that is where I am from. I'm a Gambian girl. I have noticed that this issue is still pretty rampant within my community, especially Senegal. And I want to talk about it. Because I don't see many younger people talking about it, mainly because they're probably not affected by it. But with this video, I hope it reaches someone who does this or who's participating in this, who might reconsider after I, give you a little bit of the facts. I do want to disclaim that this video is not a personal attack on anyone. It is not me being extremely hypercritical or making fun of people that bleach their skin. At the end of the day, the reason why they do it is because of colonialism and colorism, which is not their fault. So I think I can bring a bit of like an empathetic perspective and educate anyone who does this on why they do it or why they might be doing it in the first place, who it's benefiting and who it's harming. This is a very complicated topic and it's very taboo to speak about for a lot of people, but I'm hoping by starting this conversation that it can make even the slightest of impact. If one person starts to reconsider, then I feel like I've done my job. With that being said, let us get started with the video.
Show me the ugly child. And why is she the ugly child?
Because she black.
Show me the good-looking child. And why is she the good-looking child?
Because she light skinny.
So this portion of the video is dedicated to Skin I'm In by Sharon G. Flake. Such an amazing book that I read ages ago, but it really did have an impact. Skin I'm In is basically about a young dark-skinned girl who struggles with accepting her skin, who faces a lot of bullying and discrimination because of her skin, but then she meets a teacher who kind of helps her become comfortable with her skin and understand that Black is beautiful and that she doesn't need to be ashamed of it. Now I'll tell you towards the end of this part why that is important, why having a teacher like that is important. But to give you guys a bit of a background on myself, like I said, I am Gambian. I was born in the United States. I was raised in Gambia for about 7 to 8 years. Before I turned 8, I came to the US and I've been here since. And while I was in Gambia, I did know that, not actively aware of it, but I did start to realize that being either skinnier or lighter meant that you were more desirable. And I started to notice this when I would watch movies and stuff, and I would watch a lot of American TV, and obviously back then 2009 2007, I would see a lot of white people who were skinny blonde, skinny brunette, white. I wouldn't see a lot of people that looks like me on TV unless it was African films, obviously. And the way that these women would be pursued kind of gave me the message that, oh, I need to look this type of way to, be pursued like this. That's what I was being taught watching all those films. I also watched a bunch of Indian films for some reason. Doom 2 was my favorite. Most of the time, the women in these films met the beauty standard, and it was teaching me something. It was teaching me that I had to look this way to kind of, feel that way. The beauty standard was incredibly clear, and coming to America didn't really make it that much better up until I got to around middle school. So when I first came to America, I didn't have Black teachers in elementary school. I got my first ever Black teacher in the 6th grade, and this is where Skin I'm In comes in, because my English teacher, Miss Mackey, she did what had to be done. She drilled it into our heads that Blackness is nothing to be ashamed of, that Blackness is everything to be proud of. And you know what? We read To Kill a Mockingbird for months, but she did what has to be done, okay? We spent forever on that book in 6th grade, 6th or 7th grade, mind you. Her passion for that book in particular, and her passion for educating young Black people, really had its impact. And I feel like that is where there might be this like minor difference between growing up in Gambia, or maybe how I would have come out if I continued to grow up in Gambia, versus growing up in America, because we kind of had that like, Black is beautiful. If you're a Black woman, your skin is everything. Like, you should carry your skin with confidence. And that is what my teacher taught me. Who knows? I absolutely am not saying that Africans don't get taught that their skin is beautiful, but who knows how I might have been affected by skin bleaching and internalizing colorism if I stayed within that community, And this is not to say that I didn't have like internalized racism or internalized colorism growing up. Like, I remember when I first got my first American Girl doll, my mom was like, "Oh, you don't want that one?" I was like, "No, absolutely not. Give me that one right now." I absolutely did not want an Addie doll. Like, I did not want an Addie doll. I don't know why. I was so against it. I was like, hell no. Like, what? I took the white blonde straight haired girl because I wanted her. I thought she was prettier. And that is the internalized racism and the internalized colorism doing its thing. It took me a while to unlearn that, and Miss Mackey was one of those people who kind of started that process for me. It took a while. I would say like the entirety of middle school, and I was also blessed to have like amazing friends who were kind of on like the same wavelength as me, like, fighting racism and all these things and understanding how we show up in the world. We understood this at a very young age. Okay. And I'm very, very lucky to be able to say that. But that's not the case for many people, especially many Gambians or many Senegalese people or many Ghanaians or Nigerians. And like many young girls back then, I struggled a lot with my confidence because of the lack of media representation. But despite this, it never, ever crossed my mind that, maybe if I literally change my skin, like, this is going to be easier for me. That has never crossed my mind ever. Like, I've never considered bleaching my skin. I've never bleached my skin ever. I really do think it's the amazing adults and the amazing friends that I had growing up who kind of emphasized the importance of being proud of your skin that made this easy for me. I also think like my generation just kind of strayed away from that. Like Gen Z, I rarely, not to say that it's impossible. I feel like my generation kind of strayed away from that because of maybe the same reasons that I have. Also, the more time that I spent in the United States, because at this point I've been in the US longer than I spent in Gambia. So the more time I spent in the US meant that I'm not going to see people bleaching their skin as often. The only person that I definitely will be speaking about later in this video is Michael Jackson. And that was when I was young, okay? Now that I've gotten some information and some facts, I have come to better conclusions about Michael Jackson's situation. Anyways, with all of this being considered, it leads us to our question of the day. Why are Black Americans and African Americans so critical of skin bleaching while African communities still struggle?
I'm really not trying to hear that. Oh my God, it's a struggle to be light-skinned in America. I'm not trying to hear that right now, bro. Because at the end of the day, you will always be seen as more acceptable because your skin tone makes you less of a threat.
We all know that beauty standards don't stop at borders. Beauty standards travel, they mutate, they colonize. And skin bleaching, or the process of lightening your skin with chemicals or other method exists like across continents, but its roots and motivations depend on where you are in the world. In Europe, for example, pale skin was considered a symbol of wealth for centuries. It meant you didn't have to labor under the sun, and white women used toxic products like ceruse and arsenic wafers, I hope I'm saying that right, to achieve that ghostly glow. By the 1800s, American white women were copying those European trends and adding mercury and lead into the mix. So American white women actually brought skin bleaching over here because in Europe, paler was more desirable. Now, when we talk about Africa, specifically West Africa, the concept of skin lightening existed before the colonial era, but they used natural ingredients found in the environment rather than the toxic, harmful ones. And they lightened their skin not so much to get closer to whiteness and the white race, but for their own motivations, like appearing to be more feminine. Because the concept of gender existed at the time, but the concept of race did not. When Europeans arrived to the continent, they didn't just take land, they imposed ideas about what bodies were civilized, and lighter skin was a part of that. In West African countries, those Eurocentric ideals led to the idea that lighter skin meant higher status. And in memories of slavery, mistreatment, and color-based class systems, it's no surprise that bleaching took hold.
It gives you a clear skin tone. It makes it lighter and therefore more beautiful. If you use too much, there can be consequences. But if you use a reasonable amount, it's fine.
This body lotion lightens the most. It lightens the skin in 10 days.
She's a big fan of her own concoctions and promotes their results on social media.
Over time, I've wanted to become whiter and whiter because it's so pretty. Men here love fair skin.
Today, about 25 to 80%. 80. Do you know how big of a number that is? 80% of women in African countries report using some skin whitening product. Bleaching also existed amongst Black Americans, especially during and after slavery. According to a historian, Kathy Pius, skin whitening among Black American women has been documented since the mid-19th century. During the Jim Crow era, it wasn't just about beauty, it was more so about survival, and lighter skin was advertised as cleaner or more respectable. It meant access to work, housing, or even safety. At the same time, bleaching was frowned upon within the Black community. Women who bleached were called fake or trying to be white, like how a lot of people reacted to Michael Jackson's alleged skin bleaching. And men, on the other side, who tried to bleach their skin were considered feminine. What does that have to say about what people think about Black skin, right? Because darker in their heads meant more masculine. And that kind of gives you some insight on why we treat light-skinned men the way we do, but... Even though skin lighteners were widely marketed, there was always tension between survival, shame, and self-perception. As we move on throughout time, things start to shift again. In the 1930s, white women in the West shifted away from bleaching. Tan skin became the new rich look, thanks to leisure travel, beach vacations, and indoor labor. Around this time, in the 1960s, is when the Black is Beautiful movement started to gain some traction. This movement brought a wave of self-love and pride in darker skin, and for a while, sales of bleaching products declined because people were starting to wake up. They're like, you know what? Yeah. But by the 1980s, that shift reversed. Lighter skin returned as a status symbol. It was now tied to ideas like anti-aging, flawlessness, and even though that was in the name at the time, it kind of had its own clean girl aesthetic. Isn't it funny the way history repeats itself? Even when bleaching itself wasn't openly discussed, filters, aesthetics, and influencer trends continue to keep the message alive that lighter is better. So, with all this in mind, why do people still bleach? And it's because colonization never ended, it just continues to evolve. And colorism was never just about skin, it was more so about access, especially in West African communities.
This Nigerian mother used skin lightening creams on all 6 of her children, which she says burnt their skin. Her story is part of a growing trend in Africa, says medical aesthetician and campaigner Zainab Bashir Ya'u.
So a lot of people link light skin to beauty or wealth. Women tend to shield, as they call it, shield their children from that discrimination by bleaching them from childbirth. Some of these women even go to the extent of taking injections while they are pregnant just so they can give birth to lighter skinned children.
And even if we reject these systems, they still continue to shape the world that we're currently living in. So this kind of makes it really hard for people who are in this loop to get out. And with all that being considered, there is a price that has to be paid.
There's a saying that goes that when you're going to church and you see a white man on the way, you better go back home because you've seen gold.
And a lot of times these products are made with harmful ingredients that can cause serious damage. Many popular creams contain mercury, hydroquinone, steroids, or even lead, and all of which can harm not just the skin, but your kidneys and your nervous system, which I feel like it's not worth it. Like it's really not. Like mercury has been linked to kidney damage, memory loss, insomnia. And while the end goal might be smoother and lighter skin and more uniform skin tone, there is a heavy price to pay, and it's your health. That being said, not all skin lightening is purely cosmetic. Some products are actually used to treat real skin conditions like acne scars or hyperpigmentation or vitiligo. And that brings us to our case study for today, MJ. Contrary to popular belief, Michael Jackson did not bleach his skin to look white. I'm not basing this off speculation, off of rumors. I'm basing this off of his autopsy and what he has said. His autopsy confirmed that he had vitiligo, a condition that causes a loss of pigmentation. He was prescribed Benequin, which is an FDA-approved medication that speeds up depigmentation for people with vitiligo. And this cream is not something just anyone can use to get lighter. It usually doesn't work on people that don't have vitiligo. So while the full details of MJ's skin journey may not be crystal clear, what we do know is how people reacted to the speculation of him bleaching his skin. A lot of people assumed that he was rejecting his blackness or trying to be white. But I'm not gonna lie, his cosmetic procedures and what he did to his nose and like straightening his hair and all these things didn't really help his case. But this reaction tells us something very important. Bleaching your skin is not just about beauty or like cultural beauty. It has ties to deep insecurities that might stem from how you feel about your race and identity. Michael wasn't the only celebrity to face those assumptions though. Other Black public figures like Serena Williams, Rihanna, Beyonce, Nicki Minaj, even Megan Thee Stallion, all were accused of bleaching their skin. And you know what? Everything I'm saying is alleged. I'm not accusing anyone of using skin bleaching creams. I have noticed that some celebrities have gotten lighter over the years. Like, I could have sworn that some of these celebrities were the same skin tone as me. And there's actually a video that talks about this a bit more that I'll definitely link in the description. Anyways, all of these celebrities have been accused of skin bleaching at some point, Lil Kim included. Most of these claims are just speculation with little evidence to support them. But in some cases, celebrities themselves have opened up about changing their appearance, whether it's their skin or getting cosmetic procedures done, due to self-esteem.
Lil Kim also revealed that she faced insecurities for as long as she could remember because her boyfriends kept cheating on her with European-looking women.
But there is one celebrity who took this a step further. Blac Chyna, or Angela White. She didn't just bleach her skin, but she marketed it to Africans. In 2018, she flew to Nigeria to promote her skin lightening cream, Whitenicious. And her choosing Nigeria, where skin bleaching is already such a big issue, says a lot. It really does. It's a very specific choice. It's a very calculated choice. And it kind of tells you that she doesn't really care. Like, capitalism wins. Capitalism wins. Capitalism always wins. So this kind of indirectly confirmed that she's okay with bleaching, or at least with capitalizing on its popularity. But all of this kind of speaks on a bigger issue. Not even the biggest and the most successful Black women are exempt from the societal pressures of gaining a proximity to whiteness. If you look at the top Black women in music, fashion, or Hollywood, there is a clear pattern. Most of them are light-skinned or racially ambiguous. And that pattern reinforces an old message that dark skin isn't desirable and lighter skin is better. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that we're having such a hard time getting out of. The public pushes one standard of beauty. Celebrities conform to survive this, and young people watching internalize those messages. And in the end, skin bleaching isn't just about like what's on the surface. It reflects how deeply colorism, self-worth, and survival are all tangled up. With all this being said, where do we go from here? So earlier we saw how skin bleaching creams, especially in a lot of West African communities, kind of promise social and economic and romantic capital, because in their heads a lighter shade meant you're more attractive. And also, like, can you really blame them? Because people really be like enforcing this. So to kind of answer this question of why African Americans have destigmatized the concept of skin bleaching while other African communities still suffer with this issue, it's because there is so much rich history attached to our skin color, especially in the United States. It's a form of resistance, and bleaching your skin essentially tells white people that despite enslavement, despite segregation, Jim Crow, despite redlining, despite all these things, despite the war on drugs, despite the schools to prison pipeline, everything, you still won, and I still want to look like you. Like, that's essentially what you're telling white people if you bleach your skin as an African American or as a Black person living in America. Because it's also important to like recognize that racial dynamics work differently across the globe. Like, South Africa has its own very intricate and complicated history, apartheid, of skin color. Like, for example, the whole Tyla situation when she didn't consider herself Black and people kind of lost their minds. Like, it's because they have a different system over there, and our system here attaches a lot of worth and a lot of history to your skin tone. Whether you're light skin, dark skin, or whatever, it kind of all has the same message of you are one of the most oppressed people in this country. Despite all of it, you continue to wear your skin with pride. And to the people that continue to bleach their skin, I think it's important to understand that a lot of insecurities aren't your fault. A lot of them come from childhood or societal pressures. So it's okay to change your mind. You might be used to something, but in the end, it's only going to help you if you change this habit. And to my West African community, many of you are Muslim, and changing the color of your skin, if it's not, for medical reasons, is one of the things that's considered changing the creation of Allah. So when you change your skin, or bleach your skin or lighten your skin, don't only think about what you're telling your community members and what you're reinforcing, but also think about what you're telling God, like the one who created you perfectly, the one who took his time to create every single inch of you, including your skin, perfectly. He did not make a single mistake creating you. So kind of wear that with pride, This is all to say that it is incredibly important to always question beauty standards, always question the reason why we do things. And I'm not saying that I'm a perfect gal and I don't fall victim to beauty standards sometimes, not skin bleaching like other types of beauty standards. But I think it's important to give yourself grace and kind of continue to push yourself to challenge the effects of colonialism and racism and colorism in this case. So that is all I have for you guys today. I would love to continue this conversation. Is your community affected by skin bleaching, colorism? What does that look like? What do you think about skin bleaching? Like, is it like something that's like, whoa? I would love to hear your thoughts down below. What do you think? Let's continue this conversation. It's been lovely having a chat with you guys. Go tune into my podcast. It's a very fun time over there. I know we're only 3 episodes in, but we're only getting started. So thank you so much for tuning in. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one.